Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and patch 10.15 is finally here, bringing with it a bunch of new content and a ton of class changes. For the first time in the World of Warcraft's history, we've even seen a new class spec addition, with the Augmentation Evoker soaring into the spotlight. I spent a lot of time over on the PTR tinkering with this ambitious new playstyle, which focuses on empowering your allies with its support-focused gameplay, modifying the power of your allies with its combat buffs, defensive empowerments, and a ton of new utility options. Augmentation is a new player-friendly playstyle with a lot of features that help make this intimidating job of managing buffs far more approachable. And a lot of you guys have messaged me expressing your interest in this new playstyle. So today, I have decided to use the knowledge I've collected over the PTR with my time playing this new Evoker spec to put together this augmentation guide for the patch 10.15, which should help new and returning players pick up this playstyle rather quickly to dive headfirst into the endgame content. But right before we get into this Evoker guide video, most of you guys watching these are still not subscribed. However, the more of you are mine, the more of you do, so let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if you're watching these videos anyway, especially if you want to get more regular content regarding all of the newest Dragonflight updates and changes going forward. I usually like to start my class guides by going over the talent builds first, starting with the augmentation rating setup. Augmentation Evoker is a spec with a high emphasis on supporting your allies, which is why we will be leveraging group-wide cooldowns in the class talent tree. Abilities such as Time Spiral help reset movement skills of the entire raid group, increasing their mobility, while Zephyr helps bolster your nearest allies, protecting them from raid-wide damage. Skills like Source of Magic and Potent Mana help bolster our healers' effectiveness, while Rescue and Twin Guardian can be used to shield one target from danger. Obsidian Bulwark and Renewing Blaze help bolster our own defenses, allowing us to survive some of the more dangerous combat encounters. In the Augmentation spec talent tree, we grow even tougher, with Defy Fate, letting us escape death once per encounter. To further our group-wide support, we pick up Aspect's Favor, increasing our allies' maximum health. Molten Blood, which can be used to shield a heavily injured target, while Chrono Ward helps us shield the entire raid group. And healers will be thankful for Spatial Paradox, which grants them the ability to cast spells while on the move. Besides incredible group support, we also prioritize talents which net us more single target damage, enhance the damage of our allies, and allows us to maximize our cooldowns. The Mythic plus Dungeon build will prioritize familiar class talents, though the spec talents are slightly different, where we pick up the Pupil of Alexstrasza, which benefits in AoE and cleave encounters, as well as Interwoven Threads, which helps reduce our basic combat cooldowns. Talents like Imposing Presence and Font of Magic can also be swapped out to any other talent choice depending on the dungeon encounter. Now that we have the talents out of the way, let's go over how we can optimize gearing our Augmentation Evoker in the patch 10.15. Normally, this is where most gearing guides would point you to using Raidbots to help sim your best in slot items, though as of right now, the spec of augmentation is not supported on the Raidbots or the Simulation Craft websites. We will likely see updated support for augmentation sometime in the future, so it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with simming your character if you haven't done so already. In the description section of this video, I have a link on how to download the SimCraft add-on, so you can better configure your characters with the best in-slot items, consumables, and enchants. But for now, we will cover a more simplified gearing method to help you all get started. Augmentation's best stat is Intellect, and in most cases we will always prioritize gear as long as it gives us more intellect. When it comes to our secondary stat priority, Mastery is our best option, which enhances our buffed focused playstyle, further improving our allies' effectiveness, followed by Haste, which allows us to cast more spells and maintain our party buffs. Then we have Critical Strike, which is similar to Haste in value, and then Versatility as our least desirable option. When it comes to your weapons, most evokers will try to prioritize obtaining the legendary of the Unbound Legacy, which can drop from slaying Sarkareth, the final boss of Abras. Otherwise, you'll want to be on the lookout for Arathos, the Empty Promise from Sarkareth, or the Ancestral Stone Shaper from the Dungeon of Brackenhide. Your best Radiant Trinket will be the Vessel of Searing Shadow, but alternatively, Neltharion's Call to Chaos or the Igneous Flowstone make for decent alternatives. However, your all-time best trinket will be the Iridius Fragment from Halls of Infusion, which greatly bolsters your primary stats as well as your mastery. Alternatively, the Rot-Crusted Voodoo Doll from Underrot or the Idol of Pure Decay from Brackenhide makes for a decent substitute. You should also be on the lookout for your tier set bonus, with the 2-set Enhance in Ebb and Might causing it to increase the damage of your empowerment spells by 30%, while the 4-set causes Ebb and Might group value to grow even stronger. Slaying raid bosses is a viable method of tier set acquisition, but filling out your great vault through raids, dungeons, and even PvP can offer even more chances at tier set items, and you can always use the Revival Catalyst charges to convert normal Season 2 gear into tier set equivalents. Next, I want to go over the playstyle and the rotation of the Augmentation Evoker. And for the most part, this playstyle revolves around Ebb and Might, which helps enhance your allies' combat abilities. We'll be using the majority of our combat resources, empowerment spells, and major cooldowns alongside with Ebb and Might windows. In most cases, we'll be trying to keep Ebb and Might on cooldown as often as possible. Another buff we'll be managing is Prescience, which we'll be placing on a nearby allied target. Prescience increases the target's critical strike chance and provides them with additional combat benefits from the augmentation talent tree. Prescience has an auto-targeting feature, meaning it'll prioritize a nearby DPS class automatically without you needing to target them. Although more experienced evokers may wish to manage this buff manually, especially during your allies' offensive cooldowns. And we cast Prescience on cooldown because it has a chance to activate Essence Burst during combat. Lastly, we have Blistering Scales, which will automatically apply on the target of your enemies, which is usually the tank for the raid or party. But like with Prescience, we will sometimes wish to manually manage this buff, especially when running the talent of Molten Blood. Augmentation Evokers have access to 2 empowerment spells, Fire Breath and Upheaval, both of which help extend the duration of Ebb and Might. In most cases, we'll try to use both of these abilities during Ebb and Might, and rarely outside of its buff window. Fire Breath is usually used at the maximum empowerment rank to maximize its damage value, though it is usually okay to release it earlier if you need to move out of danger instantly. Upheaval deals a large amount of volcanic damage while knocking our targets mid-air. Its empowerment rank helps increase its radius, covering a larger area. In most cases, we want to release Upheaval at rank 1 so that it deals damage quickly, but feel free to expand its radius to cover all of your targets in content like Mythic Plus dungeons. Our main essence spending ability is Eruption, which deals damage to all enemies near your target. Its damage can scale based on the amount of targets that it hits, making it usable in AoE and in single target encounters. We try to spend our essence on eruptions aggressively during our Ebb and Might window, after using our empowerment spells, though we will try to conserve our essence outside of Ebb and Might, only casting Eruption when we are about to cap on essence or have 2 stacks of essence burst. Otherwise, we will be casting Living Flame as a filler ability to deal damage, while trying to fish for essence burst stacks ahead of Ebb and Might. While Ebb and Might is not active, we can also use healing spells such as Emerald Blossom or Verdant Embrace to heal our allies. Healing spells allow us to gain buffs such as Ancient Flame and Scarlet Adaptation, which further increases Living Flame's effectiveness during downtime, making it worth using. Lastly, we have Azure Strike, which deals moderate instant damage. In most cases, we barely use Azure Strike unless we need to shift our position, and we don't have access to movement skills like Hover. Next, let's go over the augmentation's cooldowns. First, we have Breath of Eons, which is available every 2 minutes. Breath of Eons exposes temporal wounds on enemies along its path, which accumulate a portion of all the damage your allies deal, then strikes those targets with a massive arcane explosion for that amount. Breath also applies Ebb and Might for 5 seconds, and should only be used at the start of your Ebb and Might window. Next we have Tip the Scales, which condenses the time for your next empowerment skill, causing it to erupt instantly at maximum rank. In most cases, we'll be using Tip the Scales on Fire Breath during our opener, or on Upheaval in AoE encounters. Lastly, we have Hover, which grants evokers temporary movement speed and ability to cast while moving for a limited time. In most cases, we try to use Hover preemptively to avoid situations where casting while stationary could put us in danger. Lastly, we have Time Skip, which causes us to recover our cooldowns rapidly for 2 seconds. In most cases, we'll use Time Skip early into an encounter, usually while Fire Breath, Upheaval, and Prescience are all on cooldown. Before an active combat encounter, you'll want to apply Blistering Scales on the tank and Prescience on a nearby DPS class. Then we'll Prescience again to fish for more Essence Burst procs. Then tip the scales into Ebon Might and then Living Flame to start the encounter. From there we will cast Living Flame 2 more times. Then we'll use Breath of Eons as well as any unused damage trinkets or combat potions, followed by a Fire Breath into an Upheaval at rank 1. Then we'll Prescience again, and then spam Eruption until we are out of resources. From there we will save our empowerment abilities until the next Ebon Might, sparingly using our combat resources, while continuing to maintain our combat party buffs as well as defensive effects, while following the rules assigned to our every major cooldown. Augmentation Evoker's rotation will stay the same in single target as well as in AoE situations, since most of our spells and abilities have natural group cleave functions, allowing us to maintain the same playstyle in all types of combat encounters. Next, let's go over the best crafted items for your Augmentation Evoker to invest into. Right now, there's 2 viable options available. You will either go with the acidic Hailstone Treads, which has a chance to deal additional frost damage while permanently slowing your movement speed, and you would combine those with another crafted item that's embellished with a toxified armor patch to enhance its effectiveness but also its movement speed reduction. If you aren't a fan of reducing your own movement speed, then 2 crafted items with the Shadow Flame armor patch will be a solid alternative option. Next, we have a list of consumables and enchants that you should use on your Augmentation Evoker. I will first list the recommended consumables, starting with the less than expensive must-have items and finishing off with more expensive optional enhancements. First, we have the Iced Phial of Corrupting Rage, which greatly enhances your Evoker's effectiveness, though this phial could place you in grave danger if you aren't great at avoiding damage in raids and dungeons, and in that case the Phial of Glacial Fury ends up being a far safer option. For your weapon runes, you'll want to use the Hissing rune to enhance your mastery's value. For food, you'll want to use either a Raid Feast or a Deviously Deviled Eggs for your personal consumables. While sometimes expensive, the Elemental Potions of Ultimate Power will greatly enhance your combat potential. And the most expensive on this list is the Augment rune, which further amplifies your effectiveness, though you lose its effect when you die in combat, so try to be wise with this purchase. Next, we have your Augmentation's Enchants, starting with your weapon, which should be enhanced with Sophic Devotion. Your chest should be enchanted with Waking Stats. Your cloak and bracers can either have speed or avoidance on them. Boots can either be enchanted with speed or additional stamina. Rings should be enhanced with Mastery. Legs should be enhanced with Frozen Spell Thread, and belt can be bolstered with a Shadowed Belt Clasp as long as you can afford it. Finally, your gems will lean towards Mastery Heaviness, with the Keen Nathright being the more optimal choice. And at least one of your gem sockets should contain a Skillful Diamond, which can be crafted by Jewel Crafter through the Work Order system. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.